California Governor Gavin Newsom launches a billboard campaign in several red states promoting access to abortion in California. Newsom tweeted this earlier today. Just launched billboards in 7 of the most restrictive anti-abortion states that explain how women can access care, no matter where they live, to any woman seeking an abortion. In these anti-freedom states, California will defend your right to make decisions about your own health. Here's the billboard. Well, I just have to say, I know that a lot of people, anytime a white man does anything fabulous, they want to say, oh, run for president. Don't run for president. Go ahead and do a good job as governor. But I do want to see more of this fighting spirit trying to shake the table a little bit because, I've been seeing polling coming out this week about Republicans closing in on Democrats in states that they had been, Democrats have been polling pretty positively. You have Herschel Walker down in Georgia who wants to ban abortion with no exceptions. And by no exceptions, that means including the life of a mother. And he was asked about that and he clarified and he said, in my mind, there are no exceptions. And you have North Carolina, Justice Sherry Beasley is going up against Congressman Ted Budd. He's another one that wants abortion banned with no exceptions. And then you have Marco Rubio, who wants abortion banned with only the exception being for the life of the mother, but not for rape and incest victims. And so we have in governor's races and Senate races throughout the country, these Republicans are not fucking around when it comes to this abortion stuff. In Wisconsin, we have a situation, or they have a situation where in 1849, let me say this, the year 1849, an abortion bill or abortion law is going to be triggered to go into effect in Wisconsin if the governor does not stop that. So Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, he's a Democrat, he's fighting this bill, but his opponent, who's polling very closely, Tim Michels, wants to ban abortion. And so just wrap your head around the concept of an 1849, this was before the Emancipation Proclamation, bill determining what women can do with their bodies in a state in 2022. So I know I got on a soapbox a little bit there, but Dr. Carr, your reaction to just, what's at stake here? And do you think that what Newsom is doing is something that we should be seeing more of? What do you think?
Well, Reese, I think we all know Gavin Newsom is running for president. The only question is when.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And I would say the only thing in Herschel Walker's mind is mud and old newspapers, which speaks to the larger point. They're not fucking around. Mm-hmm. These white nationalists they're going to break the United States. And I know people get tired of hearing me say that, but all you got to do is study a little American history. This was never a nation. And federalism has always been used by the interests that have a stake in keeping it a loose federation and advancing their interests. Gavin Newsom is playing the smartest strategy that could be played. There's nobody like him. He's in that huge state with that huge economy, and he is taking on the pufferfish in Florida and that shovel-mouth bastard in Texas, and he is making a point of it. Mm-hmm. And, when little Lynn Graham trots out his little a national ban, 15-week ban, we talked about this on this show. Mm-hmm. We knew that once Roe was overturned, the next step was going to be to introduce federal legislation. Graham is trying to salvage what he thinks he's trying to salvage the midterms. But now, finally, what he is doing is basically trying to rally the base, because what none of us are privy to, polls notwithstanding, are the conversations that are being had behind closed doors about how nervous the white nationalist party is, how worried the Democrats are, and Newsom is upping the ante. This is not going to be an election. It's not going to be politics. It's going to be won by trying to find some reasonable middle ground. Sorry, right. Joe. Is no such thing. This is a goddamned war. And Gavin Newsom is acting like it. So I'm saying keep going. In fact, you saw that letter he put out today where he wants Merrick Garland to put a RICO charge on Florida, on DeSantis, because he said you lied to those people. That was that kidnapping thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. Tear this shit up.
Period. That's the energy that we need. I mean, like,
Yes.
it's blowing my mind that, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe this is naive of me. I know we're all tired. We've been in a pandemic for years. We have a lot of shit going on. But, I mean, to me, what Abbott did, and I have to admit, I haven't even been as checked in. I know about Abbott. He's been busing migrants for weeks, you know, or even months in some cases. But to see people dumped in Martha's Vineyard on a plane, and then to see Abbott, he shipped, you know, migrants to the VP's residence. Yeah,
Yep.
and it's just like,
Washington, D.C.
No, Kamala Harris's house. That's racist. It's sexist.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, you be. And so somebody got to punch these guys in the mouth. That's what I'm saying.
right. But then again, I mean, I remember when Trump's child separation policy happens. And be clear, the United States, Democrat or Republican, has a bad immigration policy. I'm not trying to cape for the Biden-Harris administration on their immigration policy at all.
Well, they caused the problems. In other words, these people are here because they messing with the governments in Latin America and Central America.
Right.
That's the end of. These are
Right.
Venezuelans. Right. Understand that you caused the problem.
Right.
That's why they're here. Not because they came looking for America. They came because you messed up their government and their economy.
Right.
U.S. policies going back the last 50 years to 100 years.
Right.
In these Central American countries, things like this, Guatemala. When the CIA overthrew the Guatemalan government in 1954, democratically elected Guatemalan government. Yep.
Where you go?
These and go back to what I was saying in the previous segment. A lot of these countries, they were conquered by Spain.
Mm-hmm.
They were conquered under Christopher Columbus, and then Guyana, that was a British colony. Okay. Which that was one of the countries. You know, 100. You know, actually about 1952. A little more than 25% of the world population was under British rule. So these are victims of colonization. Mm-hmm. These are victims of white supremacy. So Abbott and DeSantis, they are continuing this 500 years of white supremacy. They're continuing this. They're in that tradition. Yeah. We have to take them out of power. That's why voting is so important.
Absolutely. But just the when Trump did it, and this is where I was going, when Trump did it, with the child separation, people were out in the streets. People were protesting. This was like outrage. And we're just not seeing it this time. And I think this is just as appalling.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, Reese? Why aren't we seeing that kind of out? Is it because the guy in the White House is not Trump? Is that, I mean, why aren't we seeing that?
Well, I think part of it is because it's being covered as a political stunt. It's being covered as, look at this clever thing that Republican governors are doing to stick it to the Biden-Harris administration, as opposed, in particular, stick it to VP because they want to put this off on her. But these are human beings. And so when you look at that and you look at Abbott, who is leaving no stone unturned. I mean, when he's not shipping off migrants to D.C. or to Chicago, Texas has now banned abortion. They had a trigger law. A lot of attention was paid to SB 8, which led to the Supreme Court case. But at the same time, right around the same time, he signed the Human Life Protection Act, which outlawed abortion in cases of rape and incest. To, I think, was it you, Michael, who said or was it Dr. Nichols that said, how's it coming along with eliminating rape? That was what he was talking about.
That was me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Abbott said he was going to eliminate rape when they passed the law, the anti-abortion bill. He said they need to focus on eliminating rape. I haven't heard anything else about that.
Right. Well, abortion is now outlawed in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Including in cases of rape and incest. The only case that you can get an abortion is if you have a medical emergency. We're not talking about a 6-week ban. We're not talking about a 12-week ban. We're talking about outlawed, period. So what Gavin Newsom is doing, and Dr. Nichols, I'll give you the last comment on this. I need people to understand this is the opening salvo for what we're going to see from Republicans if they are allowed to just kind of slip away and slip under the radar with destroying a constitutional right that women have enjoyed. I want to say enjoy, but women have had the right to for 50 years. So Dr. Nichols, what's you get to close us out on this.
Man, I got a lot that I want to get off my chest here. It's funny, DeSantis sent those Venezuelans to Massachusetts. Something tells me he wouldn't do that with Cubans. I think he would avoid putting Cubans on those planes. They would get all the dry foot, advantages that, and they'd be political refugees. But again, and this shows you the kind of hypocrisy here. If you're saying Cuba is some sort of communist dictatorship, then you all of a sudden don't have the same empathy for Venezuela, which again, I don't want to get in on socialism and all of that, but you notice even from their narrative, it doesn't make sense. And he wouldn't do it because it would be political suicide.
Right.
To put little Elian Gonzalez on a plane to Martha's Vineyard. It wouldn't happen. They'd find a home for him in Miami or in somewhere in the state of Florida. Now, as far as Gavin Newsom, I agree with everybody. He clearly has larger political ambition. We'll see when that actually takes place. I think he started puffing his chest out a little bit after surviving that recall, which was a joke anyway, but he started doing that, and he has those political ambitions, but what he's doing is showing chutzpah, and I think it is really important. And lastly, as far as Herschel Walker is concerned, he believes in children being born, and then he can abandon them later and allow for them, to fend for themselves later. He wants them to be born, but he'll look the other way when they actually come up and say, "Hey, Dad." So I think that there are a ton of issues here. I think the people need to be more vigilant. And, again, Gavin Newsom can stick his chest out when you have a $100 million surplus in your state and you're doing pretty well. So, I think I like what he's doing. I think he should keep doing it. And, the reparations thing kind of got me even more on his side. Right. So I think he's making some good decisions.
Hey, you got to give the man credit. He has political talent, but he also has political luck, too, and good fortune being in California. Right. So, it's a combination of both, but you have to use power when you have it.
You have to use it when you have it. Hey, Reese, just very quickly, 10 seconds. Everybody needs to pay attention to what California, the Reparations Task Force, is doing. And that 500-page study that they put out, because it deals with the history across the country.
They driving it in the ditch with that lineage-based thing, man. We got to talk about that.
No, I understand that. I understand that. And they're trying to skirt around the law. They're trying to get around the law. I understand that. But I'm talking about the history that they lay out of racism against That's what I'm talking about, against African Americans and all throughout history. That's what that study documents. Okay, so when we deal with reparations, we're dealing with repairing the damage, not just 246 years of slavery, but what happened after slavery ended, and these laws and policies that are still being put in place today that are still hurting us. You got to that's the generation of reparations that has to take place. But I totally agree with you, because Camila Moore was on the show and explained the whole thing with that. So I totally I understand that.
It's indefensible. But I heard you say on history, no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, maybe put it in a meme, people will take it and run with it, as opposed to 500 pages. Because ain't nobody reading 500 pages. Get Cardi B to do a
TikTok video. Get Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion do a TikTok video.
To your point, Reese, that's why that billboard you showed is so effective. Gavin Newsom know what he's doing.
Oh yeah. We need more of that energy, because the stakes are just really too high. And I don't know, maybe Republicans are smart. They say, okay, we go after women. Nobody gives a damn, because I'm not going to get an abortion. I can't have kids. I ain't taking care of my kids, even if I do have them. Not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just saying. But the reality... Dr. Nichols is like, I said what I said. But just what we're seeing is deconstructing citizenship. What we've been seeing. They've already done it with our right to vote. They've already done it with diluting the votes that we do have. They're doing it with women and our ability to choose. Contraception is next. Right. The LGBTQ community is next. Education is already on the chopping block, because these Republicans, while they're sitting up there and they're doing CRT and parental rights, what they're doing is defunding the public education system. So that's going to, even if a lot of black people like school vouchers, I ain't judging, but ultimately, I just don't trust any Republican plan, because anytime they got a plan to do something, it's something behind that that's a little sketchy. So whatever that we can do to effectively message what's happening, then I think we need to do that.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?